When you think about the Oldham County Health Department, immunizations and exams may come to mind. But did you know that we also inspect the restaurants you ate at last week, the swimming pool you swam at this summer, and perhaps provided your child health information at school? Our purpose is to offer preventative health services for all Oldham County residents, of which many are mandated or regulated by the state and federal government. Some of the health department's programs are available at our health clinic, but many others are provided in your neighborhood, in schools, hotels, businesses, in your home, and beyond.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Rutherford. I'm just going to tell you sort of how I got to this place with my interest in addiction. I graduated from residency in 2006 in Virginia, and then I moved out here to Kentucky and took a job in Carrollton as a family doctor. So I worked there 5 or 6 years before I moved and joined Dr. Page. And basically, it became very evident to me early on that we had a huge prescription drug abuse problem in this area, in all of Kentucky, but especially in Carrollton. And then, of course, we have one here in Oldham County as well. So I decided to start to address that problem, and I became certified to prescribe buprenorphine and started treating addiction as well. And I've been doing that since 2008, and just recently became board certified in addiction in December of 2012. So that's my story. And what brought us here tonight is the Coalition for a Healthy Oldham County has been meeting for a couple years now, and we developed a survey to identify the most important health problems in our community, and this basically summarizes the results. This is one of the questions, which says, what do you think are the 3 most important health problems in Oldham County? And we distributed this throughout the county. How many people answered? I don't remember.
730.
Okay, and overwhelmingly alcohol and drugs. 56.5% chose alcohol and drugs as a problem in our community, and then obesity was very close behind that at 49%. So we know there's a problem here. Unfortunately, we've had some overdose deaths in Oldham County. Last year, a teenager from Oldham County High School died from an overdose which involved Opana. And it's very sad, and it's ruining many lives throughout this county and throughout this state, and now it's being recognized as a national problem also. These are just some quick facts about prescription drug abuse that I think are very important. The overdose deaths from prescription drugs now outnumber the deaths from motor vehicle accidents, and that's a national statistic, but that Kentucky was one of the first states to actually achieve that, which is not a good achievement. And then in 2010, enough painkillers were prescribed to medicate every adult around the clock for 1 month. So that's just mind-blowing. Basically, every adult in the United States could have taken a Vicodin every 4 hours for an entire month, given the amount of painkillers that we, physicians, prescribed. And 1 in 20 people in a survey admitted to using pain medications non-medically. And then, of course, 25% of teenagers have admitted to trying a prescription that wasn't written for them. So basically using prescription drugs recreationally. This is just a graph showing the rate of unintentional drug overdose deaths, and I'm sure everybody's read the pieces in the Career Journal, and this has gotten national attention on CNN. Finally, I think somebody that Bill Clinton knew died, so, you know, CNN's talking about it now. And so I think this is something we're all aware of, and we need to address it within our community. These drugs are lethal, and they are in our schools. We know that. From 1999 to 2007, this is the drug overdose deaths, and you can see at the end there in 2007 the number of deaths from opioid analgesics, that's Percocet, Vicodin, OxyContin, Opana, was double that of deaths related to cocaine and heroin combined. In 2008, almost 15,000 people died of prescription drug overdose, mainly due to painkillers. Often it's several different drugs mixed, but the main source of these overdose deaths are the painkillers. For every one death, there were 10 treatment admissions for abuse, 32 emergency department visits for misuse or abuse, and 130 people who abused these drugs or who were dependent on them, and then 825 non-medical users. So the deaths doesn't really capture the problem. It's a problem just with people using these drugs, and it puts the people who actually become addicted to painkillers, it alters their lives. They spend their entire days looking for more of the medicine, and so they can't really function in society. A lot of them are parents. Okay, these are the drug overdose rates in 2008, and I believe Kentucky was 6th at this time and still is. So behind West Virginia, Nevada, and I don't remember. Oh, Florida. Yeah. And so they've started to address this epidemic in Florida and in Kentucky lately. Nationally, the CDC declared it as an epidemic, and in Kentucky, everybody's probably familiar with the House Bill 1. Does everybody know what that is? House Bill 1? Okay. It was legislation aimed basically at prescribers to try to reduce the supply of the painkillers that are on the street. And I think it's good. Many physicians didn't really like that they were being told how to practice, but I was already doing a lot of the things that they suggested, which was looking at prescription monitoring programs. Casper is what we call ours in Kentucky, and it tells you over the past several months what prescription. Actually, I think it goes back a year, the prescriptions that someone has filled. And then we locally, through the Coalition for a Healthy Oldham County, have done some work in this area, and we're trying to reinvigorate the prevention efforts in our community. I wasn't a part of Challengers. I was working in Carrollton when we first moved here, so I wasn't really very active in the community, but I understand that it was a great coalition. So we're trying to reinvigorate those efforts. And right now, the schools do not conduct the survey that we need in order to get the Drug-Free Communities grant. So we're hopeful that we can get that back in to our school system. It's basically a 30 to 60 minute survey that the kids fill out, and it gives us the data that we need to apply for this grant. We have some data from the survey that we did, but it would be nice to really know what kids are doing. I know as a physician that they're taking these drugs and that they're trying these drugs, because I see it every day. Okay, and then just real quick, what we can do in the community to try to address this is talk to our families, talk to our kids about it, make them aware that they should not be taking pills that somebody else has. Don't share our meds. Don't set that example for our children. and then dispose of old medications, which we're going to talk, I guess the police department's going to talk about that a little bit. We have drop boxes in Oldham County now that are available every day. And then if you go to an urgent care, if you go to see a physician for a sprained ankle and they offer you some Vicodin and you feel like you're probably not going to take it, then just don't accept the prescription. Or because the more that's out there and filled through the pharmacy, the more that's available to be diverted on the street. And so it's just best if it's not prescribed. I mean, I know I personally am trying not to prescribe as much, and I'm sure I have a long way to go, but just say no. And then also treat the people who have a problem with these drugs with compassion. One of my pet peeves is doctors that prescribe pain pills to a patient for 6 months, and then they find out that the patient is addicted, and they say, I'm sorry, you're not welcome in this practice anymore. That makes me so mad because it feels wrong. They have a disease, and the physician, by writing those prescriptions, plays a role in that disease and then abandons the patient. So I'm trying to get the word out. I go to Kansas City to talk to other physicians with the American Academy of Family Physicians about this and try to discourage them from doing that, and trying to convince more people to treat addiction, because it really is very rewarding. So just not continuing the stigma against addicted people would be a good thing for us to do in our community, and just reach out and help people. Okay, so I think I've summarized everything pretty well. The goals of our coalition are to get the Drug-Free Communities grant and resume our prevention efforts. And to do that, it would be nice if everybody could agree that we need to do the survey within the schools, so that we can have the funding available to really make a difference.
Before I go into my part, I want to touch base on a couple of issues that talk about the House bills. And I do know she might go a little more detail on that. I know one of the House bills that just passed, now physicians have to report on Casper, is that correct? Or is that not passed yet? Where before it was voluntary.
We're required to register for Casper. We're not required
to report.
Are you talking about pharmacists?
Well, from what I understand with Hal Rogers, he's I think he's a representative from Eastern Kentucky, maybe a senator from Eastern Kentucky. He had mentioned that when I went to the prescription drug training, that they were going to, it was in the works to make it, and I used to do Casper, so I know that I thought the pharmacists were the ones that always reported and he said that with the painkillers, it was going to make them report within 24 hours. But he kept saying the doctors, but the pharmacist is what I thought of. That's what I thought maybe you don't actually report what you write. Is that correct?
No, it comes from the pharmacy.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
When
so
they
it still
fill
does
it.
that.
You know, sorry, I'm a doctor here, and you write all about this. I think doctors, once they prescribe a patient, before they can give the patient a prescription, they have to fill something out.
And they have to run a Casper, yeah.
The patient has to sign it. Is that
An agreement?
every doctor?
Oh, okay. You have to have a contract with the patient saying, and it basically says that they're not going to share or sell their medication, and that they're going to take it as directed. That's if you're treating somebody for chronic pain. That's a contract. That's in the bill that they recommend that. The Casper is just a prescription monitoring program. You go online, you pull it, it's a report. It tells you if this person's been doctor shopping.
Yeah. What pharmacies, what doctors, and all that, and how much.
Yeah.
The other House bill, I was hoping she knew because she could give me the House bill number. He was saying that they were going to make, this may be a federal, they were going to actually make painkillers, hydrocodones and things like that aren't in Schedule 2 already into Schedule 2, which would be very, very good, because what that means is doctors can't call the prescriptions in. Okay, they have to have a written prescription. And the second thing is you can't write more than a 30-day supply, no refills. He said that was one that they were pushing to get through that would be very, very good for fighting addictions, of course. They're still going to find a way to do it. But a lot of the good things is the area Casper, we got Casper, but other ones have different ones. They're coming together more. Indiana, I was a member of theirs when I was a police officer, and I can't remember what the name of it is. It seems like it's Inside or something. But I could pull from Indiana because we had people going from Russellville, Kentucky up to Indiana.
It's called Inspect.
Inspect, yeah. And then Tennessee. Bad thing about Tennessee's is that you have to be a legislator. They wrote it that only a legislature and a pharmacist, maybe a doctor too, but police can't pull up Tennessee's. I went through the Attorney General of Kentucky to try to get one from Tennessee, and they would not give it to me. They said that legislatures for some reason wrote that they could pull, but police couldn't. So I just had that on my mind. So I sometimes get scatterbrained, so I wanted to talk about it first. My name is Craig Phillips. I'm with 7 County Services. I teach under 21 DUI classes, and I also teach a thing called early intervention program now to kids that get in trouble at schools or through the courts for drug violations, sometimes truancy, things like that. Any at-risk youth. But I've been there 4 years almost. Before that, I actually worked in Russellville, Kentucky on the police department there and was a member of the South Central Kentucky Drug Task Force for 3.5 years. While I was on the drug task force, I was actually the prescription drug officer and took all the prescription drug cases. So I have seen the vast array of what prescription drugs do to people. Painkillers are the big ones, heroin derivatives. So, hydrocodones, OxyContin, Dilaudids, anything, Lorcets, Lortabs, oxycodones, all of those are really, really addictive substances. When we talk about youth, when I saw in the schools were more Xanaxes, a lot of Xanaxes, a lot of ADHD medication, and painkillers, but mainly the Xanaxes and the ADHD. And I think one reason Xanaxes were big was because the fact is they're so small, so easy to hide. Okay, one young man had a whole bag of, he had about 350 Xanaxes in a Ziploc baggie, and he just happened to fall out of his book in class, and some pills were going everywhere, so he got caught for that. It happens everywhere. In Oldham County, Louisville, of course, in Trimble County, they have drug problem as far as prescription drugs. It doesn't discriminate. Okay, drugs do not discriminate. I always tell the kids that. It doesn't matter if you're a police officer, a doctor, a teacher, or a bum, that you can be addicted, and also everyone in those categories do have a chance of becoming addicted. Tonight, I'm going to talk about concealment methods, and all of these that I have in this box are things that we have bought either online or at a head shop or a smoke shop. I say a head shop, it's a smoke shop. So when you go to Louisville and you see the, electric lanyard or whatever, the Jimi Hendrix sign out front. What is it?
Electric lanyard.
Yeah, that's what it is. You can go in there and buy these things, okay? Actually, I remember in Bowling Green going into a liquor store and seeing some of these things. This water bottle. They can put water up here, but then when you unscrew it, it's got a little compartment. So they can have these in their car, in the back floorboard, front floorboard. We had a problem with our street officers, we knew about these things, but our street officers didn't know. So we had to actually do a little presentation the drug task force did for all the street officers in our area, because they were missing a lot of things, and we was hearing that from our informants that, hey, such and such got stopped, and they had one of those little safes, and nobody found it. I'll pass these around as I'm going through them. You can see that there's a large compartment in there that they can store a lot of drugs, not just pills, but pretty much anything you can think of. Somebody thought that it was used for like putting alcohol in, but I don't think it'd be too, it wouldn't hold too much alcohol we do in the front there in the top. And these, if you want to go online and find them, they're under safes. They're sold as safes. What is money safes or whatever. 7-Up can. Okay. Please don't open the tab. I'm going to pass it around because it won't fix it. But you can shake it. Sounds like it's got 7-Up in it. Top screws off. It's like a pill bottle in there. Okay. These, like I said, nobody asked for, they didn't ask for ID when we bought them. We had them mailed. They don't ask anything like that. You just buy what you want because they're legal because they're safe. It's kind of like going to the tobacco shop and they got the bombs in there for the hookah and the little one-hitter pipes for the tobacco. Yeah, everybody knows what this is like a CD case, so that your kids can have it in their car and on the shelf. You open it up, and of course it's got a little compartment in there too. Whoops. And of course, somebody's like, well, I don't think anybody listens to that. Kids listen to that, but you can put whatever you want. It's just a piece of paper that comes out of there. Of course, here's another one, another can. It's a Dr. Pepper can. Just screw the top there and you come over. They sell all of these things. There's a large variety. We just got things that we thought would be that maybe people might see more. Hear that? Sounds like Pringles in there. There probably is Pringles in there. Screw the bottle again. It's got a pill container in there.
Did you say that you can buy these at smoke shops?
Yeah, some smoke shops have them. We went to, me and Deanna Phelps went to, it was over in the Highlands, but I can't think of the name of it. We were just going through, we were doing an environmental scan. We were looking for, we were looking for bath salts and things, and they have all this kind of stuff in there. I mean, there's
Is
tons
there
of
an age limit to go in smoke shops?
I don't think there is. Not smoke shops. Because they sell hookah, good tobacco, I guess. Tobacco, and then they have all kinds of pipes and stuff in there. Posters, pretty much anything. Some, like I said, I also saw these in liquor stores too, but you hear that in there. It's going around there. And then the last one of those kind of things, we got a book. You open it up. Some of these things that law enforcement knows about. Like I had a guy that I arrested that had a Bible, a Holy Bible in there, and he had a safe in it, and he had his crack cocaine stuff in there. So they're very creative. Now these are things you could buy. Of course, we all know there's other places to hide drugs, hide prescription drugs. I can tell you right now, probably with 95% of you all in here, unless you've heard this before from a presentation like this, I can tell you where you keep your prescription drugs right now. Okay, so if I'm a young kid, your kids or grandkids or whatever's friends, I go to your house, I need to go to the bathroom. That's all it takes. It takes like 2 seconds for them to find them because they know where they're at. They're either to the right or the left of the stove in your cabinet, or they're in your nightstand. Of course, bathroom. Most people say, I don't keep them in the bathroom because they know where they're at. I'm telling you right now, 95% of the people that I've ever went into their house, I knew where to go. They, like I said, a nightstand or to the right or left of the stove. Does anybody here keep their medications to the right or left of the stove or the nightstand? Yeah. Kids know that. Kids know the things before we did. Opana was mentioned. Be honest with you, when I came from Russellville to Louisville, that was, OxyContin was still around, still available, still big. I heard the word Opana from some of the kids in my DUI class. I didn't know what Opana was because it was new. They just brought it out. So I was informed or educated through them. I had to go online that day and go look and see what Opana was. The new ADHD medication, I always forget what the name of it is. It's Adderall, Ritalin, and there's another one. What's the new one? Vyvanse. Another one. A kid, a youth told me what Vyvanse. When I said ADHD medication, said Vyvanse. But the youth know what they are. Now they can buy them online, of course. You can go online. I had a person send me, a teacher from Spencer County, send me an email that she had got, and it was, it wasn't email, it was on Kentucky Classifieds. And she cut it out or cut and pasted it and sent it to me. And in Kentucky Classifieds, they were selling drugs, said by painkillers, by steroids, by whatever else, and it was in California or something. I mean, they had a phone number, so I called this number. They had 2 of them. And both numbers, when I looked up the numbers, one was in Lexington, the number to call was in Lexington, and the other one came back to somewhere in eastern Kentucky. I can't remember what the name was. So I passed those on to the Drug Task Force over there, and Operation Operation Unite. I passed it on to them so they could go around and see if they can make a connection with those people. But so the kids are smart, they're gonna find it. If they don't find it online, they're gonna get it from their parents or grandparents. Okay, they know where you keep your medication. I told you about the person with the Xanax. That doctor had prescribed her like 300 Xanaxes. Like 3 months, she got 3 months supply ahead of time or whatever. And it was like 300 Xanaxes. So how's the grandmother gonna know that somebody took 150 Xanax or 100 Xanaxes out of 300, right? They're not gonna know. And it could have been more than that because maybe she didn't take them every day. So, it could have added up because some people still fill their medications. If they have the money for it, they go ahead and fill it in case they don't have it again, so they'll just pour it in the bottle and they keep storing it. The worst case that I ever had, I went into a house that was, we had information they were selling OxyContin. And went into the house, there was no electricity, there was electricity, but there was just lamps. It was a 2-story house, old house. Went in there, the floors were dirty. Of course, clothes were everywhere. The lady said, come on in. So we walk in. Of course, we're in our regular street clothes. Said, hey, how you doing? And she's talking to us. What do you want? And we're like some pills, So she's like, well, they're over there beside the bed. We went over there, and she had her pill bottles, like 20 pill bottles laying out there, empty. And then she had other pills just laying on this little, like a glass mirror. She had been crushing them and snorting them, so she was kind of out of it at that time. I ran Casper. Very little was coming back on Casper. I found that with a pill bottle, I could see she was getting them filled in Tennessee, so we went down to Tennessee, went to the pharmacy. We got all the information from the pharmacy. She went to 3 different pharmacies, 3 different doctors, 2 different pharmacies. One of the pharmacies was like Rite Aid, and she, what was it? I think it was in a month and a half. I think it was 90 or 60 days, or I'm sorry, 45 days, 60 days, somewhere around there. She had got $3,000. I mean, she paid out of pocket $3,000 for OxyContin. Her insurance wouldn't cover the OxyContin. So she went and paid out of pocket. Of course, what she was doing is selling them to make money to buy what she needed. I mean, she actually was selling them to make money to buy what she needed. She had to have it because she was addicted to them. But she was getting $1 a milligram, of course. And at that point, I think it was 80 milligram dose. So she was getting like $80 a pill. She'd get like 30 pills at a time for each prescription. But she'd go to 3 different doctors, and then she went to 2 different pharmacies to get different ones filled. But I guess she got messed up. She forgot which pharmacy she went to. And but they gave me a printout, and she had spent $3,000 in about 60 days, 45 days on that. And this is somebody that, the house, like I said, very little electricity in the house, dirt, the floors were, I say dirt, it was wood, but it looked like dirt. And it was just getting by, just barely surviving. But she was so addicted to those drugs that she would do anything to get it. And, when we talk about prescription drugs, people think they're safe because they're prescribed. One of the number 1 drugs people overdose from is Tylenol, acetaminophen. That's one of the number 1 drugs people overdose from. That's very legal, right? It's very easy to get. But it's just because something is safe to use for one occasion doesn't mean that you can abuse them. Alcohol, same way. If you use alcohol correctly, then it does have some benefits sometimes. But if you don't use it correctly, it has negative effects. So, any questions, comments about the concealments? There's other concealments. One thing to look for, like in your cars, if you're worried about your kids, anytime, if you look for places where there's new screws put in, like in the side panels, because what that is, they replace the screws, either they got worn out, like taking it on and off, or look for places where like the seals are broke, like in your trunk seals, where they've opened up the plastic in the back or whatever. That's the way they conceal stuff, they hide stuff in there. Liners hanging down, that's another way. Anything that doesn't look right, if you have a suspicion about it, probably something's been there if it's not there now. So definitely look for the screws, you'll see the screws. We always look for, in cars, the screw part. If you have any doubt or anything, check the steering wheel. You know how steering wheels pop down and up? We would catch them all the time. They pop it up all the way. They pop it down and put the drugs in there in a bag right there, and they pop it back up. And we had tons of street officers that never caught it because they never thought about popping that steering wheel down. Great place to hide stuff. they're very inventive. Kids figure out everything. Speaker boxes, you know, anything that, and well, things that are screwed down, they'll even put stuff in there too. So, at your home in, what is it, the vents, the air vents, air ducts, they put them in there. Return airs, take that off. You'll notice there's a little shelf in there usually. They hide stuff in there. They'll hide stuff, like I said, any place that they can that has easy access to them. They don't think you're going to look at it. So, no questions? Okay, thank you.
My name is David Howley. I work for the Oldham County Police Department. I'm currently assigned as a narcotics detective. I started policing in 1994 with the Grange Police Department. I was a detective and I was a sergeant for 4 years. Went from there to the Oldham County Police Department. And after about a year, I got a job offer with Louisville Metro, and I thought that was going to be the greatest thing, more money, more room for advancement, different things. I spent about 2 years there. March 23rd, 2005, one of my partners was shot and killed, Peter Grignon. That created some issues at home, kind of changed my outlook on policing a little bit. You can attest to this. When you work the West End and you work in projects, if you're out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, 95% of those people don't want you there, do they? You know,
Not 97%.
yeah, exactly. So I started realizing that working in Oldham County, when you're driving through a neighborhood at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, those people really want you there. So, November 21st, I think it was, 2005, I got an offer and I came back to Oldham County Police. Since I've been back, I was a school resource officer at South Oldham campus for 2 years, and I've been a detective since, for the last 3.5 years. Before the narcotics thing, I was a sex crimes and child abuse detective. That got old very rapidly. 19 years, and hopefully I'll retire next July. So we'll see. We hope. Dr. Ruthven made some good points about drug addiction. There's a lot of people, I think, that become addicted to painkillers not by their own fault. I guess what I'm saying on that is, say you have chronic back pain, you go to the doctor, and they give you muscle relaxers and painkillers, and they say, hey, go to therapy, take your painkillers because it helps you get through the therapy. And, that goes along for 6 or 8 months, and you don't get any better. And the doctor says, well, I'm going to have to take it off the painkillers. 6 months on painkillers, you're probably going to be addicted to it. So then you can't get them anymore, and what do? They start doctor shopping, go to another doctor, go to an urgent care, and you never see the same doctor there sometimes. So, that's to me, that's how they get addicted accidentally. I don't think anybody starts out saying, hey, I think I'm going to get addicted to pills today. So, a lot of people say, if you talk to young kids today and you tell them marijuana is a gateway drug, they laugh at you. They say there's no way. And I'm here to tell you right now, if you interview 10 crackheads right now, they'll say 9 of them will say they started smoking marijuana. So it's just the way it is. It's a gateway drug. There's no way around it. Like she said, these people that are addicted to drugs, they're not bad people. Most of them aren't bad people. They're addicted to drugs. They have a disease. Their goal in life is to find more drugs, and they'll do whatever they can to find the drugs. Last year we had 160 drug arrests on the Oldham County Police Department. To coincide with that, we had 167 burglaries. So these people are out there stealing your stuff to buy their stuff. So it's going to happen. Like Craig said, if you go in anybody's house, you know where the drugs are. They're in the bathroom, they're in the hall closet, or wherever. Or if you have a family member that dies and the elderly, they probably got 2 Kroger bags full of pills. And your family members know that, and everybody knows that. I personally keep mine in my gun safe, just because I'm kind of a non-trusting kind of person. It's just me. No offense to anybody. I don't trust my family members either. So I'll tell you a quick story about Adderall. As it turns out, the Adderall that my son takes looks vaguely like my allergy medicine. And if you get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're not paying attention, I keep mine in one of those little old man pill cases, Monday through Friday. And my son's is in the same one. His is blue, mine's purple. What? 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, blue and purple look pretty similar. I took an Adderall. And for somebody who doesn't have ADHD, I'm telling you what, that was a bad deal. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I was out mowing grass. I was trying to burn off energy. It was awful. So I don't know how Adderall calms somebody down. I don't get the whole gist of that, but it works for my son. So. I think Craig was talking about, or maybe it was Dr. Rosford, talking about legislation that's changed. The legislation, the politicians have tried to make it harder for people to get prescription drugs, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. That's a good thing. The bad thing is, it's chasing these people that are addicted to prescription drugs to heroin use, is what we're seeing now. So within the last year, our heroin, we haven't made a whole lot of arrests because we're trying to take them all to grand jury at one time. But our heroin use has gone up at least double, maybe triple. It's making a huge comeback. We can buy heroin here 2 times a day, every day for a week, and not buy from the same person twice. So it's in this county, it's bad. I don't think, I've not seen it in the schools yet. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's
Right. So hopefully it'll stay out of schools. We can maybe head it off. I don't know. Just like the legislation that made it harder to get Sudafed. You know, you go to the or Kroger or whatever, you got to go to the pharmacy to get your Sudafed. So it's the same way with the pills. It's good, but it's bad for us, legal people. So. Let me go on to this real quick here. If you have a family member that dies, or if you have just old drugs, prescriptions, whatever you want to get rid of, don't leave them laying around the house. That's bad. Don't flush them down the toilet. That's bad for the ecology, I guess. Don't throw them in the landfill, because somebody's going to find them. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this or not. I've got a couple pictures. We've installed these permanent boxes. I'll pass these around. The permanent boxes on the inside of the police department. When you walk in the lobby, they're right on the right hand side, or the left hand side of the door. One side is for, what's it say? Ointments, lotions. Yeah, liquids, ointments, and creams. And the other side is for pills and patches. We don't have one for syringes. I don't know if we're going to get one for syringes. That's a whole different type of disposal for us. Those are there. You can go in anytime, Monday through Friday, between 8 and 4. Just walk in, don't have to say anything to anybody. Empty the pills out, throw your bottles away. Doesn't have to be your medicines if you find them, or like I said, if someone dies or whatever. When the boxes get full, we take the inserts out. We dispose of them per DEA standards. Those boxes are not. We actually tried to open one when it was full so that we could be cheap and reuse the box. But I'm telling you right now, without a hammer and a saw, you can't open that thing. And somebody's going to know that's been tampered with. So those are pretty secure. I think Craig said if you leave these drugs laying around your house, and family members know about it. I'm sure everybody in here knows somebody that's addicted to prescription drugs. Either a family member or a friend or whatever. Those people know that you have, just about everybody has drugs in their house. So they're going to come looking for you eventually. They're going to come look in your bathroom when they come to visit or whatever. So my best advice to everybody is just get rid of those, bring them to the office, get rid of them. We used to have a 1-day-a-year drug take-back program. The last one we had was in April, and those were paid for by the DEA. I think the one in April, we ended up with like 90 pounds of pills in 1 day. So these boxes are a big help. They get full pretty quickly, so we try to keep them on top of it and keep them filled or keep them empty. So that's all I have right now. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
This is the 393, the station on 393.
Yes, ma'am. Right down from the Oldham County High School on the right.
I've used that before. Is that the only place though in the county where you can go right now?
As far as I know, it is. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to add more. They decided to keep it in the police station to keep it secured. So.
Do you have to live in Oldham County to
No.
make use of the?
No.
Other counties have them. I know Carroll County has one.
There's no questions asked either.
Yeah.
You have to push the buzzer to get in and
Right.
tell the clerks what you're doing, and they'll leave you alone and do whatever you got to do. So yeah, it's anonymous. Any other questions?
Are you weighing them to see how much the?
I don't know if the guys, if the evidence technicians are weighing those or not. I know they're disposing of them. And I don't know.
Compared to them, but I was just thinking.
I know that day we had the big box set up in the lobby that was 90 pounds, and I thought it was blown away. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, that's a lot of pills. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know if Kentucky is doing anything to, with other states, like I'm a pharmacist and I see lots of prescriptions from Florida and Georgia
Right.
for these medicines, and I just throw the term away. I tell them they need to fill them down there.
Right.
Don't bring them to my store. But is Kentucky doing anything to work with these other states to get them to maybe get their doctors to stop?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I know Florida has tightened it up a little bit on the pill mills. Am I correct?
They're trying, throughout the country, we're trying to link every state's prescription monitoring program. Most states have them now, there are a few that still don't, but the goal is to link all of them so that you can get prescription data on people from any state.
NASPR is what they were gonna call it, I think.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. But now it looks like instead of doing just a NASPR, they're gonna have them somehow. I'm not sure, but that is the goal. And I know our Attorney General is working very closely with Florida. I don't know about Tennessee, but West Virginia, at least within the Academy of Family Practice, we work with West Virginia quite a bit. So
I think there's less traffic from here to Florida getting pills than there was this time last year.
It has slowed down.
it's hard to go down there and get them
And the
now.
problem with West Virginia is the people that were getting them ordered through the mail, they were delivered to West Virginia. They were getting mailboxes, like they live over the border, they was getting mailboxes over there somehow, and having them delivered because Kentucky has a law where you have to see the prescriber face to face, and some states don't have that. So in Kentucky, pretty much they did, the Attorney General's office, the AG's office, I think it was, they actually made it tougher to get internet drugs because they were looking at these companies when they was getting medication from these other companies. They would charge the company. They actually went after some of the pharmacies in other states and seized their money and things like that because of that. So that's the big thing. And on the Florida one, yes, they've tightened up a whole lot in Florida, where they're not writing as many, and they're going after the different prescribers, definitely. So the big problem is there's a lot of good laws, like he was saying. Another law that came to mind was that, and I think that again, this was when I was in the drug task force, that there was a law where, maybe it wasn't a law, maybe they was trying to make a law where you couldn't, if you got prescribed in Kentucky, you had to go to Kentucky Pharmacy. Or maybe it was Tennessee that had a law. It was one of the two that had that law where they couldn't do it. But like she was saying, the pharmacies just turned away a lot of times. And most pharmacies are going to, most small pharmacies are, I don't know about Kroger's and Walmart and things like that.
The pharmacies around here in this area are really good about contacting us about people trying to call in their own refills. And we had one the other day. The woman knew the DEA number and everything. It was pretty good. But the pharmacist called us, so it was good. But the pharmacies here are really good to work with. They, let us know if there's anything funky going on. You work at a pharmacy close to here?
In Jefferson County.
Okay.
I would probably call you guys more, but I sort of view it as a disease
Right.
and not a law enforcement problem.
Right.
That's
You
kind
kinda
of
got
my
that
bias.
whole
I try
thing
to
going on too.
address the problem if I can, rather than, eventually many people with addiction end up in prison, and I tell them that you're going to end up dead or in prison.
Right.
And so, give them the opportunity to get help.
The
Of course,
difference.
the big thing is everybody's rock bottom is different. When I teach the kids, when I teach the youth, that's one thing I've learned is, going to jail may make somebody stop immediately doing something. That might be their rock bottom.
Right.
They may have to have an overdose before they have a rock bottom. They may have to lose somebody before they hit rock bottom. So everybody's rock bottom is different. In doctors, pharmacists, I know that I had some that would call me just like that, and know some that wasn't. And addiction definitely is a disease. Say that there's, the kids don't understand that it's a disease. Once you become addicted, you're always addicted. You're in recovery. The thing with pain pills, like he was saying, I would say from what I saw, 95% of the people that I came in contact with that were addicted to painkillers, pain pills, were prescribed by a doctor to begin with. They had a legitimate reason to get them. Not that the doctor was overprescribed, or not that the doctor was a dirty doctor, because I had them all the time. Once you go to the doctors, we did go out to the doctors and we saw it. But the thing is, most of them had a problem. They was in a car wreck. They had a sports injury. And then, again, like he was saying, they had them for 3-4 months, and then they couldn't stop. They liked that feeling, it made them feel better. It was psychological. Of course, with the stages of addiction, you have psychological addiction first, and then it goes into physical addiction. But the thing is, they're so close together that you might be in the physical addiction part before you didn't even know. You may be psychological just for a little while, you're in physical addiction.
It actually takes 2 weeks to become physically dependent on chronic pain medication. And I'll just tell you the story of how much you would take. If you're taking it around the clock, like, 10 milligram Vicodin every 6 hours, it would take 2 weeks to actually experience a withdrawal after.
Of course, everybody's different. You got biological.
Well,
history.
right,
Yeah,
right.
so that-
And there is some evidence that if somebody's in more pain, then they're less likely to withdraw off of the medicines. But the whole phenomenon of how we started prescribing these medications is fascinating to me. There was a huge movement during the 1990s that's when I trained in medical school, so I remember this. We were told that we were under-treating pain, that we were not compassionate about people's pain, that we were phobic about narcotics, and that we needed to be more compassionate basically with our patients.
Right.
And that's how it all started. I mean, physicians for most of us go into it because we really want to help people. And so, you only have what the person is saying to you. Pain is very difficult to quantify, and you don't always get changes in vital signs, and everybody's pain threshold is different. And so, as a physician, learning that, it was immediately knee-jerk, because we're Americans and we always take everything to extremes, that we just needed to make sure everybody was comfortable.
Right.
And simultaneously, the drug companies were saying that the medications weren't very addictive, and they were saying something like 1 to 3% of people are at risk to get addicted. Well, now we know that's more like 25 to 45% of people who become addicted to these medications. So it's like typical. We're learning now that, oops, and we have this big problem, and pretty soon there are going to be a bunch of addicts out there, and they're going to be using heroin because they're not going to be able to get pills. And they still are going to need help. They're still going to need addiction treatment. So,
The heroin use in the county has just exploded.
well, because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, it's easy to get, it's
Right.
pure. It's so pure that people are dying from. We've had a couple overdoses from it. So.
Yeah.
Black tar or brown?
No, it's just powder.
So it's not brown heroin, it's not the dirty brown, like it's like a.
Some of it's a
color.
dirty brown, some of it's more of a white. Just depends on.
It's more pure.
Louisville, we're getting both. I mean, it's, the last 2 years, it used to be, like, all the stops was crack cocaine, and
Right.
heroin is,
Right. I saw
It's cheap.
WHS 11 had a little blurb on that in your department, and I think they said it was one of 300%.
yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, but it's easy to get, for real. It's easy.
When you were saying it takes 2 weeks, does that mean that someone is taking exactly how the doctor prescribed it to them? And they can take them 2 weeks to get addicted?
Dependent. Yeah. Addiction, by definition, is when it's loss of control, craving. Addiction is that point where somebody's not taking it as prescribed. Okay, and some people immediately do that because you can't look at somebody and know that they're going to be addicted. So you might give somebody 30 Vicodin. I hear this from my patients all the time. They'll say, I never did a drug in high school. I hurt my ankle when I was 26 years old, and my doctor gave me pain pills, and I took one, and I felt like a normal person for the first time in my life. And so then it starts out slowly. There's something different about the addicted brain, and so they'll take they'll take it as directed at first, and then all of a sudden they'll realize they need more and more and more, and then there comes a point where they're not even really getting high off of it anymore. They're just taking it to feel normal. Yeah, because if they get up in the morning, they feel so horrible, they have to have it.
I think once now, when you say it's 2 weeks, if they're taking like they're supposed to take it.
Right.
And so if they're not crushing it up, storing it, or, I understand what
Right,
you're
it's
saying.
not an addiction at that point, it's more your body gets used to having the drug. So that there are changes that happen in the brain. And so if you stop taking it, you're gonna feel bad. You might not feel bad for 3 days, but that's
awesome.
how long it takes the physiological dependence to develop.
When did they start putting hydrocodone in cough medicine? I got some of that over the winter and didn't realize what it had in it.
Right.
That's kind of sneaky, you know?
That's been a while,
Really?
actually. Yeah. Yeah, codeine for a very long time has been in cough medicine, but, and it actually works really well. by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it
helps,
really does.
helps the cough for sure.
If
Helps you
you
sleep too.
can't, nothing else, nothing else.
Now, as a normal, I know when I was an officer and the pharmacist said that doctors usually won't prescribe any more than 8 hydrocodones, depending on milligram dosage, 8 a day because of the acetaminophen, because people, it would shut down their liver, be targeting the liver, which is 4,000 milligrams. So now that they dropped it down to about 3,000 milligrams or something like that for safe, so have you all dropped the most you prescribe in 1 day down because of the acetaminophen or not?
Everybody has their own threshold that they're comfortable with, and there comes a point where you just know that you want to send that person to pain management and let them sort it out. It just doesn't feel
And I'm
comfortable.
glad you said it, because I thought about the other House bill, the state, I don't know if it's state or federal, but they are actually, you know how you have these pain clinics that would pop up, and they're not owned by pharmacists or anything, or doctors either, or doctors or pharmacists. Now they're making it where it has to be connected to a doctor, or I say a doctor, not a pharmacist, but a doctor. Where before you had people that own like Piggly Wiggly's, gas stations, whatever, and they were putting this because it's for money, the pain clinics. Most of your family doctors are not the ones that are prescribing stuff irregularly or getting on addicted. The pain clinics that are popping up, that's the place where a lot of your people that are addicted are going to, because they know that, hey, they're just going in the door, the doctor may see them for about 5 minutes, and then they can get out. They just tell them, my back hurts. Okay, do this. In some places, they were, in Eastern Kentucky, I know, that I saw this, where they wouldn't even see the doctor. They would go up and they would say, okay, I need a prescription for this, and they would write the prescription, they pay the $25 or whatever the thing was, the doctor would write down, they did this, and they would see hundreds of patients. I mean, there were lines lining up outside of the business because of that, and then the word, they were coming from all over the place. We saw most people from Eastern Kentucky, because actually, for some reason, they wouldn't get themselves in Kentucky anymore because Casper was so good. They started going to Indiana. But then the inspect came up, which is theirs, and it's still, you have to request to be, they'll do any police officer, like LaGrange could apply to be on there and be able to look up inspect, just like Casper, but you just have to apply for it. But yeah, I'm glad you said it, because I remember that was another thing they talked about, the pain clinics and things like that. So.
Yeah, the law, I think, is definitely going to help the situation with prescription drugs, but like was mentioned by the detective, the heroin use is going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, the addiction.
It's like Oxycontin, and then they went to Oldham now.
Right.
When I took away Oxycontin, they're going to find something, and then it's heroin. Oxycontin, hydrocodone, it's a derivative of heroin, it's an opiate. So it's the same, they're getting the same chemical. It's just, now it's a different delivery method. It's, not as clean, of course, but they're still getting the same thing. Going on to ADHD, he was asking about, he talked about taking, having the pill and waking up or being up. And it's actually called kitty cocaine, what Adderall and Ritalin is kitty cocaine, because it's a stimulant. It's just like, it is just like a cocaine derivative. It's something that's going to make you hyper. But a young person who has ADHD, what happens is, if you think about the brain, our brains, people that don't have ADHD, the gates are closed. So serotonin, whatever chemicals are being released, they're not open all the time. So when something good happens, say you score a touchdown, or say you get a raise, you get happy, it opens those gates up, so those chemicals are released. Okay? With somebody with ADHD, their gates are already open. That's why they're hyper. So that stuff, the chemicals are coming out of the brain. So when they take ADHD medication, which is a stimulant, it has a counter effect, because what happens is the gates open up even more, so it's a flood. So then your body says, oh, I gotta shut down. So it shuts the gate. So the chemicals stay in the brain. Does that make sense? Okay. So somebody that takes it, if they take ADHD medication and they don't need that, it opens the gates just enough to let the chemical out. So that's kind of how it works.
Can I ask a question? You said you worked in a pharmacy. Are you allowed to deny people? Is it a law, or how does that work?
I look at it as, to protect my license. Like, I don't know, they could probably go after me if they found that person selling it on the street and they came, like, you said that guy in Tennessee, they sold that lady all that OxyContin. As a pharmacist, I would think they would have been watching her and saw that she had got that many and would have turned her away a long time ago. And I just wonder.
I'm guessing probably because it's Rite Aid. I think that was before, because they have different pharmacists in there.
Well, no, but you have their prescription record. Like, I have access to everybody's prescription record that gets prescriptions out of my store and other CVS's where I work. So,
Yeah, you're connected.
Yes.
Some Rite Aid, some stores are connected, some aren't.
okay.
And I don't know which ones are, which ones I can't remember. But I know like some are connected. So some, like I can go to Walgreens in Russellville and say, can you pull up the Walgreens in Tennessee? Or if I give them a name, it will come up. But Walgreens is not, I know Walgreens is not connected. I don't think Rite Aid is either, because I think it was Rite Aid we went to before. But then some of them are, like Walmart, sometimes they are, things like that. So I don't know how that acts. But we usually, you could go to the pharmacist, but it's usually, with pharmacists and doctors, it's not just one patient. We look at, we could run a Casper on the doctor and see if they're prescribing a bunch of medications, to all these other people. So you can see, it's an indicator of a doctor, a so-called dirty doctor, one that's just prescribing left and right. It's not as easy to do a case on that, because the fact is, again, it has to show a pattern. It's easy to do doctor shopper. If I have a person that goes to Kroger's, goes to Rite Aid, goes to Walgreens in a 30-day period and feels the same things, and they've seen 3 different doctors, then that's a doctor shopper. Okay? And I know that's what they're doing. But a doctor, a pharmacist is a whole new ball game. And there is pharmacists, though, doctors that usually get their license taken away as far as doctors go, and they go practice in another state. We've had several of those that came to Kentucky like that. But it would have to be and he may go look for it because he's the current police officer, but it would have to be a pattern of showing that they're doing this all the time before they would go out. And usually CVS or Walgreens aren't going to be doing that. So
The
It's up to
pharmacist,
the
they-
medical
it's
license.
legal for them to do that.
yeah, they can turn people away. Yeah.
They do it. They often call us if, which is really helpful. I've had pharmacists call me and say, did you know this patient just filled a prescription for hydrocodone yesterday, and we just gave her, 20 Percocet because she came in with a broken foot or something,
With Casper, so are doctors not, if a doctor prescribes someone a painkiller, do they not automatically have to go with their name Casper? Or is that just by choice?
We don't have to check Casper on everyone. We have to check for the first prescription that's written, and then if somebody is maintained on the medication, you have to check every 3 months.
So who puts the person on Casper? Like who records?
The pharmacist. Right. But it's not that up to date. Sometimes the day that you check it, there might not be a couple of.
It usually took 2 weeks when I checked it. It takes 2 weeks for it to show up.
Right.
Does it matter if they went to insurance or not?
No. But the insurances are sort of getting into this whole monitoring process also. Passport especially, they're monitoring it and sending us notifications if patients are filling prescriptions in various places.
Because a lot of medications, insurance doesn't cover.
But pharmacists can still give it to you, right? You just pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the woman I was thinking about, she had $3,000, and she paid out of pocket for that. So $1,000 for each prescription was $1,000. $1,016. It is honestly not very expensive, but it was.
But if she was getting 180, and, no, if she was getting 90 and they were 80 milligrams, that would go for
It's $1 a milligram.
$1,700.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
$1 a milligram each one.
So that's a $6,000 profit. I mean, there are people that are just, that's how they're living. Seriously, that's their livelihood, that's how they're paying rent and.
We're not taxpayers.
Right, and most of them are addicted and they're funding their own addiction.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's what she was doing. She was using what she had to have and selling the rest to pay for going down to Tennessee and pay for a little hotel room and all that stuff to stay there at night.
When you say she was doing what she had to do, is that for like pain clinics where they drug test you, you have to have that drug in your system to get more?
No, what I'm saying is she was addicted. So when you become addicted, your brain has to have, the chemicals have to be released. So to feel good, like she was saying, the withdrawal symptoms, get rid of the withdrawal symptoms. The reason people don't know they're addicted sometimes because they never try to quit.
But to pain clinics, if you are a constant patient there, do you have to go in and take a drug test before they prescribe you?
Why not
You have to
pain
have
clinic?
that in your system?
No, you do.
They do.
They do urine drug screens at pain clinics.
Are you talking about
They
methadone clinic?
prevent- No, at pain
The
clinics.
pain management?
They do.
Okay.
You do them.
Legitimate pain. You're talking about legitimate
The
pain.
legitimate pain clinic.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's the ones that pop
Not the
up.
like, yeah.
That's the ones that are on Monday and Tuesday.
Well, they probably don't fall there.
Because it's a way to prevent people from selling them. If they go in and get more, this certain pain pill, and they take a blood screen, it has to be in their system.
Well, even in the addiction clinic where I work, I prescribe Suboxone, which has a street value. Because
Yeah, because people are getting.
because addicts, if they can't get anything else, they'll settle for Suboxone. Or a high schooler, for example, could get high off Suboxone if they were naive to opiates. But
Require people to take a drug test.
right, they do a drug test when they come in, and they if it's not in their system, or even the metabolite, we look for the metabolite because sometimes they'll just drag the strip into their urine. So we look for the metabolite and make sure that's there. And if it's not, then we'll give them maybe one warning. If we're pretty sure somebody's diverting, then we have zero tolerance for that. And same with me in my family practice. If that's the one thing that I will dismiss a patient if I know that they're selling and there's nothing in their urine. I've had that happen, I think twice, where it was clear that that person was just using that for their livelihood. They just came in, got their medicine, and they were using it for their livelihood. And I think any physician who says they haven't encountered that is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not checking drug screens because it's shocking.
One thing that wasn't mentioned that is very important though, when we talk about addiction, withdrawals, and things like that, there's only two types of drugs that people can die from withdrawals, and that is heroin, which hydrocodone, things like that, opiates, and alcohol. So if somebody says Xanax in that, I've never heard that before, but you told me you could die from Xanax withdrawals, not overdose, but withdrawals.
Actually, you're more likely to die from an overdose from Xanax than alcohol than from
Not overdose, withdrawals.
Withdrawals, right.
Yeah, okay.
Withdrawals from opioids usually will not kill you. It's usually the alcohol or the benzos. And the benzos target the same exact receptors in the brain as alcohol. They feel like they're going to die
Very painful.
with heroin withdrawal, but most dangerous withdrawal is alcohol.
Michael, what about schools? I know that prescription drugs is a community issue, not a school issue, but do you have anything from your schools?
Well, we're still drug testing the athletes, voluntary kids, anybody that competes in competitive extracurricular. But also in the district, if you are caught with any drugs, you are, Melanie, help me here with the gains.
It's a gains short screener assessment that I do with all alcohol and drug-related suspensions. The majority of those are alcohol brought in containers and marijuana. drug of choice for teens. That's usually what we see. And I have seen prescription, drugs like an Adderall or a Xanax, but it's typically alcohol, like vodka, rum, clear, liquor that can go in a water bottle or Gatorade, and then marijuana.
This show has been brought to you by the Oldham County Fiscal Court, community television for Oldham County.